All right, welcome everybody. Coach Shaw, if you want to give an opening statement before we open it up for questions.
Sure. First day of tackling today. The individual periods did not go as well as you would like, but as we got into team, we did some team tackling and some in-close tackling. I thought it went very well. Um, Pretty good for day one. A few bumps and bruises, but I thought we came through okay. Day off tomorrow, and then over the weekend, we're going to really get into to a little bit more physical play and really try to get ready for the season.
We'll open it up for any questions. If you can use the raise hand function in the participants panel, please. We'll start with Jacob Rayburn from Cardinal Sports Report.
Hey, Coach. Liking the mask and wondering with tackling in the individual drills, what was your expectation as kind of a teacher evaluating students who hadn't been doing something for real for a long time? And had you thought at all about what you've seen so far from teams who have played games where it looked like tackling was really rusty?
Yeah, the first week was awful in college football. I think most coaches saw that. Second week was a little bit better. The last 2 weeks have been better. But we talked about it. So even though we haven't been able to tackle human beings, we've really been working against bags, working technique. But that's the thing that we got to focus on the first week of any season, but especially now, starting so late and with so much time away from playing football for all these guys. Those that missed the second half of spring, the freshmen coming in, they haven't played any real football since their season ended in the winter, late fall, early winter. So my expectations were not super high, but it's something that we've been working on technique-wise, and now here and there over the next 2 weeks, we're going to spend some time on it and really force the blocking and the tackling. And it's the foundation of football, and we got to be good at it. We got a tough schedule ahead, so we got to start fast and start by starting fast. Defensively you tackle, offense you try to break tackles, and offense you got to block guys to make plays. So we're starting with the basics.
Follow up on that, because this season is short and there's going to be even smaller margin of error than there typically is, and with everything you just talked about, what's the balance going to be like as a coach of when you try someone else at a position because a player is trying to play his way out of a slow start, but you've only got 7 games?
I really don't know what you mean by margin of error. I'm not going to approach any game differently than any game I've ever coached. We're going to do whatever we can to win the football game. So I'm not going to coach differently because we don't have as long of a season. The only thing that's different for me is that we don't have to worry about eligibility because this year doesn't count for anybody. So we don't have to worry about 4 games for freshmen or 4 games for other guys that don't want to worry about any of that stuff. Besides that, whoever practices well, whoever shows us they got the ability to help us win, they're going to go out there and play. Guy just starts slow and the other guy is more ready to play, we'll play the other guy. But that's no different than anything we've ever done. So the approach is the same. It's just recognizing that there's been a long time since any of these guys have really tackled another human being. So that's what we have to work on.
Our next question will come from RJ Abadia from the Bootleg. RJ, go ahead.
Coach, it sounds like not a big surprise that the technique wasn't maybe where you want it to be. I'm just wondering, just from a pure conditioning standpoint, how are the guys hanging in with really playing football for the first time in maybe the longest stretch of their lives?
The conditioning's been, as a whole, very good. We had a bunch of guys that stayed here, and a bunch of guys that went home and worked hard. We had a few guys that maybe didn't have the right enough things around them away from us that we tried to take care of since they've been back. For the most part, though, the conditioning's been good. It's just the football, not being able to play for so long. So we're working through a lot of little tiny things. I've been hard on the coordinators, all 3 phases, not to overdo it with our installation. We've missed a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time to get ready. So we got to kind of make sure we're streamlined to what we put in so our guys can play fast and play with confidence. And the only way you play with confidence is you earn that confidence in practice. So like I said, day off tomorrow, and then the next 4 days after that, they're going to be the lead of our training camp, and we got to get after it.
And then just a quick follow up. Maybe it's just because playoff baseball is on right now, but how much of the tackling is a timing thing in the way that, hitting a baseball is timing? I mean, how much of that is what you're looking for as much as the technique? I'm just asking, honestly.
Yeah, for me, you kind of have three levels. You've got the young guys that have never really been taught to tackle another guy at a high level. So there's a lot of teaching there. Your angles. There are those guys that are out of practice that know how to do it and have been taught how to do it and can tell you exactly how to do it and go through the drills, and then they miss a couple just because they're out of practice. And it takes a few reps for them to get back. Then you've got your guys that they just pull the trigger, right? You've got your guys that they just have no issue at all. They can be off tackling people for 8 months. They don't care. They get that position and they pop and they get you down. So like, a guy like Curtis Robinson, put him in a period, he's gonna pull his trigger, he's gonna get the guy on the ground. So those are the three things that you're working through. Those guys that are ready, keeping them fresh. Those guys that have to have a lot to learn, giving them a lot of reps. And some of those guys that they know how to do it, just giving them enough reps so they get back into it. And this is all at the same time of trying not to overdo it to where you beat your team up before you start the season. So there's that fine line of pushing them and hitting enough, but then knowing where that line is and know when to back off.
Our next question will come from Rusty Simmons of the San Francisco Chronicle.
Hi, Coach. Coach Anderson said something pretty neat about Malik Antoine the other day, saying that at this point Malik could basically coach up all of the secondary positions. Just wondering what you've seen from Malik and kind of his understanding of the game.
I would say sometime early last year, getting out of training camp, he established himself as a leader on the team. And it wasn't just about knowing what to do, but how he carries himself, and the guys trust him. He's got field credibility. He's got locker room credibility. He's got weight room credibility. He's just mature and knows what to do and takes it very, very seriously and takes it to heart. So he's a great example of how to prepare, how to work. He does it right. He doesn't overdo his self-celebration. If he does it wrong, he's really hard on himself and pushes himself. So he's a guy that knows what to do. When he makes his call, the guys don't even question it. They trust him. And that's an earned trust that Malik's worked really hard to get to this point.
And off the field, Malik has told us about some important, tough conversations the guys have had in the locker room about social issues. Any insight you can give us on that and kind of the conversations that the team's having?
Well, without recounting some of the individual conversations I've had, there have been a lot of conversations. And from my vantage point, this stuff is really, really hard. But this is the time in these young men's lives that they learn how to have these conversations. They learn how to respect somebody else's opinion and listen to it, and then express their opinion in such a way that they explain how they feel and what they've experienced. So this is a time of growth for these young men in a really difficult time period. We're not glossing over these difficult subjects. We're having these real conversations, and it's my job to guide them and support them. It's not my job to tell them what to do or how to feel. I have to support them and help them grow and mature and handle the difficult things that this world will present, so that when they leave Stanford University, they leave here with a mindset of making positive things happen wherever they go, and whether that's local or national. My hope for all these guys is they learn how to have these difficult conversations now and decide how they're going to affect the world in a positive way once they leave Stanford University.
Thank you.
Our next question, we'll head back to Jacob Rayburn.
Hey, Coach. Wondering if at this point in practice, there are any individuals who you can point to for highlights, individual success, whether that be plays they've made or really anything else that you would give a shout out to on an individual level.
Without going too far, like I said, after tomorrow, we really get into the meat of it. But I think right off the bat on the offensive side, Drew Dahlman has been outstanding, and Davis Mills has been outstanding. I like where our receiving core is. Our tight ends are showing their maturity and versatility. We got a good group of running backs that I'm excited to see, and two athletic fullbacks. But individually, those two guys on the defensive side, I think Curtis Robinson is playing his best football right now. I'm excited to see him play this year. Thomas Booker as well. And I think as a unit, defensively, we're moving around. We're running around pretty well, and a lot of guys are playing well. But I think Curtis and Thomas in particular are doing extremely well. And special teams wise, Jet Toner, hopefully he'll solidifies himself as one of the best, if not the best kicker in America this year. He started off doing very, very well, very, very consistent. He has recovered. He feels great. I'm excited to see him kick this year as well.
Our next question goes to RJ Abadia, and we'll have one more with Rusty Simmons to finish.
Coach, I know the charge has been not overloading the guys and keeping it kind of simple and going for mastery so far on offense, but I'm just curious, what's your early read on Davis's level of all the things that you ask your quarterbacks to do before the snap and during it?
Yeah, he was there last year. He was there last year. It was, tough to see him get hurt. He and KJ back and forth. Each guy took turns getting hurt. At the end of the year, I don't think we didn't support him as a team, but I thought he was outstanding. His play against Cal, his play against Notre Dame, I thought was borderline special. We can put a lot on him. It's not too much for him. He can handle it all. Protections, run game, very, very well. I would not give him an A just yet for his play. I think he's doing well. I think there's a high ceiling out there, and we're going to try to push him to reach it.
Our final question will come from Rusty Simmons in the San Francisco Chronicle.
Coach, I was going to ask a big picture question, and I don't even know if this makes sense, but with everything that's going on now at Alabama and Florida and the attention that's getting, I wonder how closely you're paying attention, if you think any of that will affect what you're doing or what the Pac-12 is doing.
I don't think so. I think we have a lot of we're living in an overreaction society right now. And I don't mean in a political sense. I just mean in general. If you really think about everything that's happened in the last 6 months, if anybody thought we were going to make it through this entire season without anybody getting sick and without any games being affected, we've been talking about this for 6 months. Now, granted, I'm a little bit more involved than a lot of people because I've been on multiple committees, both NCAA and Pac-12 COVID committees. We've all talked about this. It's going to happen. Right? It's already happened to multiple head coaches now that they've gotten the virus and they're going to miss their a game or two. We've had multiple players miss time. We've had breakouts on different campuses. We knew as soon as we started opening up college campuses, this was going to happen. We knew as soon as we started traveling and getting guys around each other and interacting within society, this was going to happen. So this is something we've all prepared for. We know what's going to happen. The best thing we can do is help mitigate it so that there are very few massive spreads. But there are people that have worked really, really hard on many levels to help us get to this point where we are. But I've said this a million times. I'll continue to say it. This virus has circled the globe multiple times. So no one's immune. It's hit everywhere from the White House to preschools, right? So it's going to happen here and there. Best thing we can do is continue to prepare for when it does happen, isolate people, and at the same time, allow these young people to live their dream and play this sport in the safest way possible.
All right. Thank you, Coach Shaw.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.